Okay, good.
Okay, so I want to just do a final wrap-up with respect to,
Sorry, I just wanted to establish one last fact I was going to say before we went to recess. Again, in his rebuttal, in his statement, when you addressed him, he painted the picture that all my mom does is sit around in the house collecting a Social Security check. Because of her mental health, she can't do anything, won't do anything, bad environment for the child. That would be a bad environment for the child if that were true. My mother has years of documentation of not only volunteer work with animals and the homeless, but food shelters. She did volunteer work with me as well. Reaching
Right
out.
now I work with inner city youth, and I also did unlicensed child care for the state of New Hampshire. I'm allowed to care for everyone else's children except for my own, unfounded.
But again, we have years of, and again, if you want to be submitting evidence, we can, years of recommendations by multiple agencies she's worked with. Vast improvement, and early on with some of the GALs, when Brandy was still a toddler and they were having her in daycare and preschools, one of the recommendations was for my mother to go to the school to get more time with her and to display her own parenting acts. We have recommendations by those teachers that the GAL blocked from going into record, stating that my mother was not only a great asset to the school and to the classroom, but was also helping the newer parents.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have petitioner's exhibit 1, which also disappeared from my case file, of the V&A parenting baby adventure that Kathleen Sternberg suggested and then took us out of, even though she was in this program for a year, longer than any daycare, the musical daycares that Roland put her in, take her in one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and never notified me where she was. But he had his girlfriend, who had all 4 of her kids removed by the state of New Hampshire, working in that daycare. But he's concerned about my mental health. Okay, so that's just quite the contrast. And I would like to submit into evidence all of that, seeing that it disappeared from my case file.
so that didn't disappear from the case file.
Well, I certainly didn't see it.
I've seen it referenced in the GAL reports and in the review of the file.
The GAL report does not state anything good about me.
Remember,
I read it too.
Ma'am,
So I would like to put these into evidence.
I'm not accepting those.
Of
They're
course
not
not.
relevant to this court's finding today. Remember, I understand that this case goes back to 2006. I understand that we're talking about years of litigation and history
And years of deprivation with no just cause that has not been addressed, and we want to move forward, but we never address the past deprivation.
what the issues that are before me today for me to
Reunification,
decide.
visitation.
Yeah.
Now-
And that's what I want.
I
to
also
hear
put in
from
an ex parte order today that I wanted to speak to Brandy today because she was here, and that was never ruled on because I haven't been able to speak to her for weeks.
Well, that wasn't, I don't know, ma'am, that wasn't before me, that's not before.
What do you mean it wasn't before you? They told me that they gave it to you
Well,
downstairs in the clerk's office, so they must have lied to me
They
then.
may have put it in my file, but you're having a hearing this morning at 1 o'clock, so
This was
I
at
wasn't
11.
ruling
Yeah,
that.
well
In
before the
any event,
hearing.
Okay. But again, that's fine.
Getting off base, and I'm gonna close
No,
this
it's not
hearing.
off base because I'm constantly deprived of speaking to my child. If you have any proof in front of you from Roland or anyone else involved in this case that suggests why I should be deprived of my child, then please produce it.
Is there anything further before I close this hearing, and I'll give you a second to respond, relevant to the findings today, not from 2005, not 2006, not the.
It's
baby
all
steps.
relevant.
I understand that that is part and parcel of your argument that you have been denied or deprived of your child. I understand that. I've heard your testimony on that today, but today I have findings before me that I need to make as to whether or not it's appropriate for Brandy to have unsupervised contact with you, which is what you've asked me for.
Appropriate, it's more than appropriate, and it should have been going on all along. And you know it, and I know it.
Okay, so, and whether or not the relocation is in her best
The
interest.
relocation has never been in her best interest, nor was it even legal.
I'm gonna, I'll give you if you have anything further with respect to those 2 issues that you haven't already testified about or told me about, I'm gonna.
As he's already stated with her IEP plan, we will follow everything that she does at home, in our own home, with time with us. All we're asking is for the chance to know us as her family.
And to be involved in her counseling so we can have reunification. He's not making any effort to do that.
That's all we're asking with
And,
his.
and all her friends were here in New Hampshire. She lived her whole life here in New Hampshire. She's only been there a little over 6 months. She was ripped away from everything that she's ever known and loved her entire life to accommodate his job. And that move was not made for Brandy Lee's best interest. It was made for his job.
It was
That
better.
is not in the best interest of the child. She's taken away from anything and everything she's ever known and loved.
And again, he notated on the job for less than a minute, but he notated the entire argument really on his move to get her away from her. That was his entire argument.
I want to hear, sir, is there any final thoughts or rebuttal that you want to testify to on those specific issues, please?
Realistically, I'm requesting call for a no contact order. I don't think that side has proved to this court today that it's exceptional for the court to ward down any kind of visit with a child until they can provide to this court that they can provide a safe haven for the child.
Can he prove that we've
And not
ever
only
been
that,
unsafe
excuse
while
me.
he's letting his mentally ill and abusive mother and
not
girlfriends
to
watch
mention,
Brandy Lee?
the child is at 14, and you understand, as I
Now
stated
he's
several
concerned.
times, that you're aware of the history of this case. You know, this case has made like major turns over many years, okay? There was never any consistency between Maggie and the child, never. And it
'Cause
was
it wasn't
always-
allowed.
And it was always done through
Not
the petition.
because I didn't make any effort.
And so we had a lot of broken time as the child has grown up. So therefore, now the child is 14 years old, she really doesn't know her. And some of the things that she has seen or heard or talked to her over the phone about, she's not comfortable.
I'm always
She
supervised.
don't know how to handle that. So
I'm
I
always
have not
supervised.
seen yet myself that she has provided before this court that she can claim as having a safe haven for the child. It's been supervised for many years, and it's for a reason.
No,
been
it's
all-
for
It's
no
not-
reason.
it's not
Unfounded, no reason.
Alienation from me.
It is
dictated by
alienation
the
from you
court.
that you're even admitting to right here in court today without even knowing it.
And the courts are aware of all that, you know? It has nothing to do with me, they just hand out.
It has
orders.
everything to do with him.
No proof had ever been submitted that there's ever been any danger involved by us to this
No,
child.
as a matter of fact, to the contrary, he has placed her with dangerous caretakers repeatedly, and it's documented by this court. But now all of a sudden, he's afraid of her safety.
Never has been an issue.
It's
Alright.
never been an issue,
Also-
as long as it's anyone but me.
Also, I don't have a police record, nor do I have any mental health records. I'm completely fine. So whether he lumps me in with the same course he has against my mother, I get it. I'm not the parental parent here, but considering he gives his wife, who again
And his nanner.
is not a parental person, he gives them so much leeway. I'm involved in my sister's life through my mother's side as they are involved in her life through his side. No danger whatsoever, yet he keeps lumping me in there. So just want to put that out.
And his nanner and his wife are not her custodial parent.
Nor
I
his wife.
am, and I am not allowed to exercise those rights by him or by this court with no just cause or finding, and it's not right. And that's why I push so hard, is because I'm fighting to stay in my daughter's life.
And that's,
This is why I contact all these agencies, because I've never given any information about her. This is why I have to go to Washington to get her school records when he could have gave them to me, because that's what co-parenting's about. And I also had a court order entitling me to them, but he never lets me know where she's going to school or where she's living or anything, because he's too busy having his wife impersonate me.
also, he did mention in his statement earlier that school was a huge issue. The school was a huge issue because he told them that she wasn't her mother. Federal FERPA law includes her to have the rights to her daughter's records. He made that in Hillsborough and Indiana. It wasn't just the school, it was him behind the school telling them that's not the mother. We had to go all the way to Washington, D.C.'s Department of
To be
Education
acknowledged as my child's mother.
to get her records, and that's why you got those. We got those records sent, what was it, April, May-ish, that we got the records
Yeah,
sent?
and I mean, the school is a corporation. I had to deal with an attorney. I had to deal with the Federal Department of Education because Hillsborough wasn't cooperating. Indiana wasn't cooperating, and the reason for that was because he falsified the documents and put his wife as her mother. I had to prove who I was.
Okay, all right.
So anyways, I don't think that they don't understand the realistics. When you fill out the paperwork for the child, as you're aware of, into the school system, you have to put show a guardian.
It's not a guardian, she
No,
wasn't
it says
approved.
mother and it says Paula how
So
you have it right in
therefore,
front
her
of you.
name obviously had to go on it because with me
Not his
being
mother.
around, she's closest to the school to pick the child up. It's in fact now, and Nana's been added to that too. So if the child gets sick or something, they need to know who to call. Obviously, they can't.
Right, but I'm not listed as an
You know
emergency
what I'm saying?
contact, I'm not on it
It's a
anywhere.
little bit more complex than the way
Also,
you explain it.
We have no record of who Nana is, she's not blood related to my sister.
Yeah, this is like, I
Who is
have
she?
a court order that says that I'm supposed to be notified of all caretakers, he's never done that. I don't know who this woman is.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna take this matter under advisement, I'll issue a written order, as you know. It will take me a little while to get it out, obviously, this case has a lot of history, you know.
And what are we gonna do about contact in the meantime, because he's not answering the phone, he said he's not going to, and I went to the police department in Manchester and they cannot enforce civil law. So what do you intend to do about me having contact with my child and not being deprived any longer?
My order is as it was at the last one, where.
Okay, but it's not being enforced, so obviously it's useless.
Your Honor.
Yes,
Are you
Say
gonna
whatever
put any
she wants.
contempt on him today
She can
for
say
what he
whatever
said?
she wants, but you know, realistics, okay?
Is there gonna be any
I
contempt
explained to the
issue?
court, it has nothing to do with me. I called the child, tell her. She called, you need to call.
okay.
Is
Okay?
there gonna be any contempt issue? We
I'm
said
gonna
we were
take
gonna
this
address
matter
that, but
under
we never
advisement.
did. But we never did, that's okay, there's a higher authority. Federal court, see ya. This is my last day in this courthouse. My very last day. We're gonna, I got a court order that says that we are going to address contempt today, not one. Because that's how they go.
I know, I know.